So, total absence of suffering and miseries in life is, however, impossible and unnatural. In fact, they are rather meant for our betterment. They are just like bitter pills of medicine given to a patient to restore health. The misuse of even the best thing creates trouble. So is the case with miseries. Proper utility of everything at the proper time and in the proper way is sure to bring about good results in the long run. Miseries are really our best guide which make our path smooth. To a man in the ordinary sphere of life, miseries are very helpful for his making. ಸರಿನಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಬುಜಿಯವರು he's praised miseries so much that anybody who reads this ಅಲ್ಲ will start seeking miseries. He's praised miseries two, three times in the same paragraph. ಅಲ್ವಾ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಹೊಗಳು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೊಡ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕಹಿಯಾಗಿರೋದು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಕೂಡ ನಂಗೆ ಬೇಕು ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಹೊಗಳಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ ಹೊಗಳಿದಾಗ ಆ ಕಹಿಯಾಗಿರೋ ಪದಾರ್ಥನು ಸಿಹಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಸರಿನಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಮ್ಮ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಹೊಸ ಐಟಮ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಮದರ್ ಕುಕ್ಸ್ ಎ ನ್ಯೂ ಐಟಮ್ನು she will talk about the item as if it's a very great thing. So she will arouse the curiosity of the child, and the child will eat it with a lot of cherishment. ಓ ಇವನು ಅಮ್ಮ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಓ ಈ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ತಿಂತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಏನೋ ಒಂಚೂರು ಕಹಿ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅಮ್ಮ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. So mother has told me that there is so much to it. So although I feel sometimes not so great about the food that I eat, but I still eat it because my mother has told me that there's a lot of good about it. So this is one of the tactics that mother uses with children. Otherwise, it's not easy to convince Bharat and Gopal Krishna to eat something new. They'll definitely not try. They're happy to stick to what is tried and tested, traditional food. They'll not eat anything new. Right, sir. So that's one of the things that we have to do. And by the way, I wanted to read one sentence here. The nature of the causal body is bliss. So whenever we settle down on the causal body, we'll be very blissful, happy. So whenever we settle on the causal body, we feel very blissful and happy and settled. So when Dadi says joyful acceptance, joyful acceptance cannot come at the level of the mind. For joyful acceptance, by the practice of meditation, we should have settled ourselves in the layer of the causal body, which is full of bliss. When we are in causal body and whatever thing happens, when we are staying in the realm of the causal body, we accept it joyfully. We borrow joy from causal body, we borrow acceptance from the external world, and we will be quiet. That is joyful acceptance. And many people think that joyful acceptance is because of the mind being joyful. No. It's a very beautiful thing, joyful acceptance, no? The mind, Lalaji writes in Truth Eternal, the mind is the center thing. It has a capacity to go this side also, this side also. Okay? So when the mind goes out, it gets distracted by the objects of the world. That's its very nature. When the mind goes in, it settles on the causal body. But the capacity of the mind is wherever it settles, it absorbs the essence of that. So when it is going outside, there is a possibility of distraction. So the mind settles on distraction. That's why many people think that the very nature of the mind is distraction, and that is wrong actually. The nature of an untrained mind is distraction. The nature of a trained mind or disciplined mind is settlement, settledness. So what happens is, as we meditate and we go in, we gradually go in and settle towards our causal body. When we settle on the causal body, what is there in the causal body? The causal body is full of bliss, joy, happiness. So the mind absorbs the essence of that. When the mind has absorbed the essence of that, and then it comes back to function in the external world, certain things happen in certain ways. Since the mind is reminded of its experience of settledness and happiness, it does not show the same tendency to be distracted. So what happens then? It accepts whatever happens. It does not get distracted. Why? It does not want to lose the condition of the peace, happiness, and settledness that it felt on the causal body. Does it make sense? So when the mind comes under the influence of the causal body, then you become joyful, then you develop the ability to accept with joyfulness. So joyful acceptance, when it is happening naturally, it's an indication that your mind is now getting regulated. In fact, we read in the same book no, earlier on that what we do in Sahaj Marg is that we make the unregulated mind regulated, indisciplined mind disciplined. That's what happens. How does the mind get regulated or disciplined? Because it comes under the influence of the soul or the causal body. That's what happens. So the mind gets regulated. So next time when you hear the word joyful acceptance, know that all these things should have happened for somebody to naturally exhibit joyful acceptance. Otherwise, it's not easy to develop joyful acceptance. Okay? Only a person who is permanently settled in the soul or beyond can actually write about this. All miseries are like a blessing. This is one of the maxims we read. You remember? Which maxim? गणेशन छत की तरह देख रहा है. There are two maxims related to that. One, there is a use of the word miseries. And second one is not being revengeful. So which one is that?
Revengeful is seventh.
Correct. And the other one is ninth Allah.
Fifth is miseries.
By not answering and taking so much time to answer, you yourself were making me miserable. ಐದನೇದಂತೂ ಇವಾಗ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. So fifth one is about miseries. Seventh one is about when somebody has done something wrong to you, not to be revengeful. That's the seventh one. ಸರಿನಾ?
Fifth one is goal, right? Fix your goal.
That's the third one, goal related.
Third is purity of body and mind.
Third one, ಇಲ್ಲ
10 maxims, right?
First one is fix your goal and get up ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೇನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ. Third is also goal about only. Look at it. Anyway, let's have a look at it. So third one, fix your goal, which should be complete merger with God. Rest not till the ideal is achieved. That's the third one. So goal related is, sorry?
I have a different version.
No. This is the original version. I'm reading from the book only. I think they might have changed the numbering. So just make sure that you get the correct one. ಸರಿ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರಚೋಣ. ಸೊ ಜಾಯ್ಫುಲ್ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಇವಾಗ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ. ರೆಫರಿಂಗ್ ಟು domestic troubles and miseries of worldly life, my master used to say, our home is the training ground for penance and sacrifice, endurance. To endure calmly the adversities of a household life is for us the greatest penance, which is the noblest of all forms of penances. Now, since we handle the difficulties that we face in a day-to-day life as penances, we don't need to go to the forest to do any other penance. The challenges that we face in our day-to-day life itself is the penance that we undertake. Okay? What we have therefore to do under the circumstances is not to give way to the feeling of anger or grief, but to assume an unquestioning attitude, thinking that we ourselves are in the wrong, for which we have to forbear with a cool mind. A solitary life in the forest or aloofness from all worldly concerns may be to some the means of cultivating patience and forbearance, but to us, the taunts and rebuffs of our friends and relations is the greatest penance and the surest means of success. In fact, to put up coolly with miseries and troubles contributes much to our betterment. Hence, they are valuable assets in our progress. It is only by the wrong use that we spoil their effect and thus get deprived of their best advantage. Serena? So it's the wrong handling of the miseries that creates samskaras. If you handle it rightly, actually they aid your journey. They accelerate your journey. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ನಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಭರತ್?
Actually, here he is speaking about miseries, and when I read some 2 3 whispers, he will talk of joyfulness. So very confusing.
ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದಕ್ಕೇನೆ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ರೀಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೀಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕಾಂಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಟನ್. When you read spirituality, especially when you read spirituality out of context, it can become very difficult to understand. It appears contradictory, as you say. But when you read in the right context and in the right perspective, then it appears meaningful. ಸರಿನಾ? ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈಗ ನಾನು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪೆನೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಕ್ಕೆ, ಟಾಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರಿಬಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಕ್ಕೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ ನಾನು ಮದುವೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಇವಾಗ. That's why so I'm following Babuji's dictates that the to us the taunts and rebuffs of our friends and relations is the greatest penance and the surest means of success. Who else would be the best taunter? Wife would be the best taunter ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, sir, I'm going to get married, sir. Sudha sister will be wondering, what is this fellow talking? So that's why of all the people, no, if you can get praise from your own wife, there is no other bigger praise than that. That is like Padma Vibhushan. Right? Not Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, it's Padma Vibhushan. To get the praise from your own wife. Not so easy to get. That I can guarantee you. ಸರಿನಾ? Sudha sister ತಲೆ ಆಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ನೋಡು. Sudha sister is nodding her head. Yes, correct. Now Sudha sister has to check how many times she actually praised her husband wholeheartedly. I'm using the word wholeheartedly. Not just for the sake of praise at the level of the mind. चलो एक दो बात अच्छी बात भी बोल लेते हैं. इतना डांटा है, एक दो बात बोलने से कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. You understand Hindi, sister? So it's like I have taunted him so much. Let me speak at least one or two nice words about him. It's all right. It's not going to make a difference anyway. So that's how it is. I'm just talking about in general in every family. In every family, the closest family members are the last one to praise you or last one to recognize the changes because they would have got used to a particular pattern of behavior. right? And they would see that person at the closest quarters. Nobody else can see that person at the closest quarters, no? The family members, the immediate family members see them in the close quarters. So that's why it's that much more harder to get the praise from the immediate family members. Praise from the immediate family member is very pricey. Pricey PRICEY. And it's very costly. It's not a very easy item to get. It's a very costly item to get. ಮದುವೆಗೆ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್ ಇರಿ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಭರತ್. I will prepare my wife even before marriage so that all these things can be had at a cheap price, not become very pricey. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹೆದರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಓಡೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಇವತ್ತು. ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನು ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾನೆ, he will turn on his video. ಮಲ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ he will turn off the video. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸರಿ, ಮಲ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿದ್ದೆನೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ. ಗೊತ್ತು, ಐ ನೋ ದಟ್, ಸೊ ನಾಟ್ ಟು ವರಿ. ಸರಿ, ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ಈಗ ರಿನೌನ್ಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಡೌಟ್ an essential stage in training, in realization, and we can never be free from the entanglements of Maya until we cultivate non-attachment. But it does not mean severing our connection with home, family, and all our worldly concerns, taking up the life of a religious mendicant. I do not agree with those who hold the view that the only means of cultivating non-attachment is to get away from home and family and retire into a solitary corner, discarding all worldly ties. Renunciation effected by such forced means is seldom found to be genuine, for it is just possible that in spite of their apparent forced detachment from the world, they may still inwardly be clinging on to it. So, Kadi Hodru Kodano, they will still be thinking about what they were doing in the Nadu, when they were in the city. So, that's why renunciation is not total, even when they go to the forest. No doubt, as a householder, we have to look after many things. We have to support our family, we have to provide for the education of our children, we have to look after their wants and necessities, we have to protect them from heat and cold and from trouble and sickness, so on. For these necessities, we earn and possess money and property. The real evil is only our undue attachment with the things that we are associated with. This is the main cause of our suffering. But if we are able to do everything in life thinking to be our duty without any feeling of attachment or attraction or repulsion, we are in a way free from worldly ties and have renounced the world in the true sense, although we possess and make use of the many things. Everything we possess shall then seem to be a sacred trust from the Supreme Master for the discharge of the duties entrusted to us. So, renunciation ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. It's not about just running away from all the responsibilities. Renunciation about, he continues actually. Renunciation truly means non-attachment with the worldly objects and not the non-possession of objects. Non-attachment and not non-possession. Thus, a householder life in which possessions of things and worldly ties are indispensable is no impediment in the way of renunciation and consequently of realization, only if one is not unduly attached to the objects he is connected with. There are numerous examples of saints having attained the highest degree of perfection while leading a household life all through. Best example is Lalaji and Babaji. And in fact, Babaji writes that the highest people who have attained the highest in Raja Yoga can only be found in Grihastha ashram, not in the Sannyasa ashram. So, other way of defining renunciation is that renunciation is in fact a condition or an inner state of mind which brings to our view the transitory and changing character of things and creating a feeling of non-attachment with such things. His eyes are fixed every moment on reality which is unchanging and eternal, and he is free from the feelings of attraction and repulsion. This is Vairagya in the true sense of the term. When we have achieved this state of mind, we are free from desires We feel contented with what is available to us. The end of desires means the stopping of the formation of the samskaras. What remains now is only to undergo the effect or the bhoga of the previously formed samskaras, which are to be worked out during the course of our life. Nature too helps us in the work by creating a field for bhoga in order to remove the impressions of our thoughts and actions from the past, from the causal body. When those coverings melt away, we begin to assume finer forms of existence. So, Iradaitu. First, you give up the desires by developing Vairagya. That's why Vairagya develops at the second point only. First point is, to some extent, you decrease the burden of desires. You develop contentment. When you come to the second point, you develop Vairagya. And when you develop Vairagya, even those desires which are still there in the first point, they become non-functional. That's why the condition of contentment is fortified by the development of Vairagya. Contentment which is not backed by Vairagya is not strong. So contentment which is backed by Vairagya in the second point becomes very, very strong-footed. So you don't fall easily prey to desires then. Okay? So in order to control our thoughts and actions, we have to look at the proper training of the mind, which is never at rest even for a moment. I have often heard religious teachers railing at it in bitterest terms, ascribing all bad names to it and proclaiming it to be our worst enemy. The reason is quite plain. They think that it's the cause of all evil within us, and consequently, they advise people to crush it and not to follow its biddings. But generally, people find it a hard task to restrain the diverse activities of the mind and to disregard its biddings. Their theoretical advice and lectures in this respect are therefore not of much avail to them. Almost none of them attending those lectures have ever been able to achieve the object of in a practical way. Besides, the present circumstance and the environments too contribute much towards the ever increasing activity of the individual mind. What have we done? We have created television, we have created computer, we have created social media, we have created phone, we have created digital media. Right? What has that done? It has multiplied the thoughts at the level of the mind. It is multiplied it, left, right, center. You make one statement, somebody makes one wrong statement, that's it. Their life goes for a toss because the TV channel fellows will keep playing the reel again and again, again and again, the whole day for the next 2 days. Not only that, you will get a series of trolls, millions of messages in the social media. For what? For one comment. See how much polluted we have made our life. We have ruined our life in such a way that we don't have any personal space for contemplation. People don't even have the time to think. Forget about contemplation. Where is the time for contemplation? People are running like headless chickens. Headless chicken nodi the bharat. Have you seen? ಚಿಕನ್ಗೆ ತಲೆ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣನೇ ಅದು ಆ ಕಡೆ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾನೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನೋಡಿದ್ಯಾ ಅದು? ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದೆ? ನೀ ಯಾವಾಗ ಚಿಕನ್ಗೆ ಹೆಡ್ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ? ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರೋ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀನು ನೋಡಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ? ಏನಿವೆ ನಾ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಾನು ನಿಜವಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? Just to put a video of a headless chicken in the YouTube. So many videos will come. You will see that it will just go round and round, round and round, even after the head is being cut. Our mind is like that, headless chicken. And all the things that we have done, that's why even people as young as 4 or 5 years old are now developing digital addiction, phone addiction. Children do not eat food if you don't give them the phone. That's how they have been trained now. And we think that we are going to have a very bright next generation. No, the next generation will not be that bright. We are in the slope downwards as far as human intelligence is concerned. We are on the downward trend because we have outsourced all our human intelligence to artificial intelligence. And now we are waiting for the next thing to happen. What is that? We are waiting for the scientists to develop artificial stupidity to go hand in hand with artificial intelligence. So that will be the next frontier. How to create artificial stupidity. And then humans will say, we have to become stupid for us to create artificial stupidity. Then by the time we create artificial intelligence, anyway we would have become stupid. So we will create that also then. So not to worry. Seri hagare. Almost everyone today feels his life to be hard struggle for existence, confronting a few problems of poverty, insecurity, distress, and rivalry, and it's almost impossible to keep himself free from its effect. The result is the constant unrest and disturbance of the mind. We breathe in the same thing from the atmosphere and are consequently led away by the circumstances and surroundings. Daji writes, the greatest pollution on earth now is thought pollution. We have filled the atmosphere with so many thoughts. The 3 or 4 pollutions which are the most rampant now, which actually disturbs the mind, is one is air pollution, second one is sound pollution, third one is dust pollution, fourth one is the dust and air go together. You can just take them as one. So dust pollution, sound pollution, light pollution, and fourth one is thought pollution. Of them, the most subtlest but more intense is thought pollution. We have stopped using our rods. You know, God has given 2 things in the eyes, rods and cones. Cones are there for vision under light. Rods are there for vision under darkness. Now, since we are now abusing the light so much that we are only using the cones, we don't use the rods at all. If you want to sustain the eyesight for a long time and not have spectacles, learn to utilize your rods. In other words, don't turn on the light everywhere you go where it's a bit dark. Try to use your eyesight without the need for any light. In that way, the rods get extra blood supply. When the rods get extra blood supply, that blood supply which comes to the eyes also supplies the cones also. So in that way, you will keep the cone functioning for a longer time. ಸರಿನಾ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆಯಾ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಲಿ ಓದಿರೋದು ರಾಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೋನ್ಸ್ ಟೀಚರ್ ನನಗೆ ರಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಡಿತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಸರ್ ಆ ರಾಡ್ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆ ನನಗೆ ಜಾಮೆಟ್ರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೋನ್ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಸರ್ ಆ ಕೋನ್ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆ ಈ ರಾಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೋನ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ See what we remember. If teacher has given you 1 or 2 claps using the rod, you will remember it for life. But otherwise, you are like forget everything. And in our system, when people are asked about this, no, sir, all those things have been cleaned away, sir. I didn't do anything. You have to ask my preceptor about it. They have cleaned it up. So the greatest pollution now is thought pollution. That's why he says we breathe in the same thing from the atmosphere and are consequently led away by circumstances and surroundings. Our individual mind has become the weathercock, turning its face at every blast towards the direction in which the wind is blowing. The real hero in the struggle is one who braves out courageously, bears them courageously, and keeps himself free from their effect. I no doubt agree with those who say that every evil has its origin in the mind, which alone is therefore responsible for it. Though at the same time, I may remind them that it is the very same mind that leads us to virtue and also helps us to realize our highest self. So it is not every evil alone that proceeds from the mind, but also every good. Hence, those who condemn it in the bitterest terms have no justification for it at all. It is really only due to defective molding of the mind, and what is actually required is not the crushing or the killing of the mind, but merely its proper training. The mind is like the pendulum of the clock. The clock goes all right so long as the movement of the pendulum is regulated. If it is disturbed, the clock is out of order. Similarly, for this human clock, it is necessary that the movement of the mind be well regulated and adjusted. The methods to mold the mind and regulate its activities are also very simple. Really, we have spoiled the mind ourselves by allowing it to wander about aimlessly during leisure hours. Please underline that. This is the bulk of our problem. We allow the mind to wander aimlessly during the leisure hours. The practice has continued for years and has now become almost its second nature. If we now try to control the mind by putting it under restraint, we meet with little success. The more we try to suppress it by force, the more it rebounds and counteracts, causing greater disturbance. The proper method to control the activities of the mind is to fix it on one sacred thought, just as we do in meditation, and dispel from it everything unwanted or superfluous. In course of time, after constant practice, the mind gets disciplined and regulated, and much of the inner disturbance is eliminated. ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಸೋಣ. ನಾಳೆಯಿಂದ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸರಿನಾ? ಏನಾದ್ರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಎನಿ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್? ಸೊ ನೋ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಭರತ್ ಕೇಳಿದ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳಾಯ್ತು. ಏನದು? ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬರೀತಾರೆ ಸರ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಸರ್. Look at the context and the perspective with which it is written. Then it will make sense. ಈಗ what you are doing now, going through the book reading, is that you are developing bits and pieces of the larger picture of how the spiritual journey is. One day, when everything falls into place, then, okay, this is the journey. अंदर से एक दीप जलेगा. ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಲೈಟ್ ಆನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕ ಪ್ರಯಾಣ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು. ದೆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಯು ರೀಡ್, you will see where it fits in the larger journey. So you will not get disturbed. You don't feel it's contradictory. Everything is part and parcel of the journey. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸರಿ, ಇನ್ನೇನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಭರತ್ ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನೋ ನಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇರಬೇಕು.
ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ನಾನು ಅದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ I thought that when he was here he'll speak about Vesaris. There is joyfulness.
ಆಯ್ತು, ಈಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಆಯ್ತು. ಗಣೇಶನ್, ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್?
No.
ಓಕೆ, ನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಸುಧಾ ಸಿಸ್ಟರ್, ಆಯ್ತಾ ಕಾಫಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು? ಕಾಫಿ ಓವರ್? ಓಕೆ.